Are you waiting on me with the gavel? I'll call the Zoning Board of Appeals for the month of March 2025 to order. The board members that will be hearing the cases tonight is Member Stephen Lianis, Member Monique Greenberry, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, Member James Sweeney, and Member Kenneth Galligan, myself, who is Chair. Our Zoning Enforcement Officer, the Building Commissioner, the Clerk of the Zoning Board is Mr. James Plouffe. Our Recording Secretary this evening is Monica Fagazzo. I would ask if anybody has an electronic device, cell phone, please put the cell phone either on vibrate, shut it off, whatever you want to do with it. If you need to talk on the telephone, please take your conversation out into the hallway. I will tell you that this meeting is being televised. It's audio recorded. So this will be played from time to time over the next month on Brockton Cable TV. Before we start the meeting tonight, there are two withdrawals that have come in prior to the start of the meeting, and these cases will not be heard tonight. The first withdrawal is a postponement request from tonight to next month in April, and that is case number 2514, the petition of Matthew R. Shannon, 37 Whiting Street, Hingham, Mass., seeking relief for a variance from Section 2710, Table 2, and Section 2732 to convert an existing structure on the property to a single-family residential dwelling in a C5 zone located at 149 Mill Street. So if you are here tonight for that case, it will not be heard tonight. It is being rescheduled for next month. The next case that has been withdrawn that will not be heard this evening is petition number 2517, the petition of AEA Medical Properties, LLC, care of Mr. James Burke, 48 North Pearl Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance, seeking relief from Section 2629 to construct a self-storage facility in a C2 zone located at 838 Belmont Street. That case has been withdrawn, and I don't know if or when it will come back, but it will be re-advertised. Prior to the start of the hearing, there is an opportunity for anyone to withdraw without prejudice. Is there anyone here that wants to withdraw? Everybody's good? That leaves us with 5 cases tonight. The process for the meeting is when I call the case, the petitioner will come up to the podium, introduce yourself, give your name to the clerk, and make your presentation to the board. When you have finished your presentation, I will open it up for discussion among board members if they have any questions of the petitioner relative to the testimony that has just been given. So this will be the opportunity for the board to ask any questions. When that has been completed, I will close that portion of the hearing, and I will ask then if there is anyone here that wants to speak in favor. Following that, I will ask if anyone is here that wants to speak in opposition. I will then ask if there's any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue. And lastly, I'll ask if anyone in the room has a question relative to the testimony that has been given. At that point, that will conclude the public discussion relative to the case. I will close the public hearing, and then I will open it up among deliberation of the board members. This is the portion of the meeting where only deliberation between the 5 of us is carried out relative to the information that has been presented to the board tonight. At some point, you will probably hear one of the board members make a motion to grant. If that is seconded, the motion is made to grant and seconded. I will ask the clerk to call the roll. If the vote is 5 in the favor and none in the negative, the petition will be granted. If there was 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, the petition will be granted. Anything less than that will be denied. So if there's 3 in favor, 2 against, the petition will be denied. At that point, I will The clerk will tell me we'll take the vote. The clerk will tell me what the vote is, and then I will announce whether or not the petition has been granted or denied. Board members, we all set? Everything's good? All right, the first case that we have before us tonight, 2512, the petition of Skyline Village LLC, care of Philip Nezzarella, 1063 North Main Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 27.9, Section 2725, Section 2737, and Section 2739 for a variance and special permit for a Lot A reducing its lot size and allow the development of a Lot B for 2 mobile homes in an R1B zone located at 454 Copeland Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Philip Nezzarella representing Skyview Village. With me this evening is Mr. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, together with the Kaufman brothers, who are the operating managers of Skyview Village. They have acquired the lot in question, and a lot has happened since our last meeting when we were here a couple of months ago. In fact, what I have decided to do was to narrow this down to simplify what was somewhat of a confusing presentation and hearing last time, and I'm actually waiving some of the requests that we put before the board, but I tend to put those in the event that that's relief I'm going to be seeking. What I'm simply looking for this evening is for a variance on Lot A, seeking to allow its non-conforming use by having divided the lot. Since we were last here, we went back before the planning board, and the planning board allowed the division of Lot A to Lot A and B. Lot A now is non-conforming according to the code, but being at 18,500 square feet, it is as large, if not larger, than about 75% of the surrounding residences. So it is within the orderly development because it is within the same dimensions as everything else. All I'm looking for before the board this evening is simply to allow the non-conforming existence of Lot A, and the rest of the matters are going to be handled before, they would not be properly before this board. Some of them have to do with planning board, that may be the permit granting authority for the other relief that I'm seeking. So with that in mind, I think you may all be familiar with the plan that has been presented before. You see when it's Lot A and B together, an odd configuration to the property. When Lot A is divided, it then becomes somewhat consistent with the other lots in the area. And with that conformity, again, would satisfy what the spirit, if not the black letter law of the ordinances are, that it maintain the orderly conduct in development within that neighborhood. With that in mind, that is basically all I'm seeking here this evening, just to allow the nonconformity of Lot A, which has been properly divided by the planning board. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Mr. Chair, if I could, are the other, so it says mobile homes on the request. Is it in conformity or likeness to the other dwellings?
What would? The mobile homes?
Right.
Yes, they are. They would be exactly the same as it's in Skyview Village, but that's not what I'm presenting tonight. I'm waiving that.
Okay. So they are, the other ones are mobile homes is basically my question.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct. And that Lot B will be part of the Skyview Village.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So they'll have like I don't know what you call it, the dressing on the bottom. You won't see wheels. You won't see any of that stuff. They'll be built out just like the other ones in Skyview.
Correct.
Could you, because I don't have a plot layout like that, could you show me on there which one, Scott, is Lot A and Lot B? Sorry, I apologize. I know you're flipping it there.
That's fine. Lot A will contain the existing house.
Got it.
454 Copeland Street. Then Lot B is the portion in the back that's closest to Finney's Way within Skyview Village.
And there'll be a cutout from that cul-de-sac for the driveway into that one lot, and the other entrance to Lot A will be on Copeland Street. Do I understand that correctly?
As it is existing right now.
Okay, so that's really not changing Lot A. Well, the new Lot A. Okay.
We did create a new driveway to address some of the concerns that were raised last time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, at the hearing last time, we had a common driveway going to those two.
Yes.
Folks weren't happy with that, so we have two separate driveways
Okay.
that we brought before the planning board, so they have permission to come back to you folks tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're asking for a variance to reduce the size of Lot A.
Correct.
What's the hardship on that?
Well, as I said, it started off as an odd-shaped lot, and to be confined to the strict letter of the law of the ordinances would be an inordinate size that I would be compelled to keep at 30,000 square feet when 75% of the lots in the area are within the range that we are proposing now. They're between 14 and 17, 18,000 square feet. Some of them are 21, 25, but that exceeds the average amount, and it would be consistent with what exists in the neighborhood. And I think that's the essence of what zoning seeks to do, is keep an orderly development so you don't have one at 30,000 square feet and everything else at 10 and 12,000 square feet. And that has been unfortunately a function of the fact that we have an outdated code, and hence the reason, and thankfully, the existence of a zoning board that we come to for that type of remediation.
So can you speak to us about this parcel B?
Well, I can, again, Mr. Chairman, to whatever extent you like, but that's really not part of the presentation. That's not what we're, that's why it was waived. But what would you like me to speak to in particular?
So are you intimating tonight in your presentation that all you're looking for is a variance to reduce the size of Lot A to create a Lot B?
Correct.
That's all you're asking for?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you create the Lot B, what is going to happen with parcel B?
Parcel B, we propose in considering the development or establishing a mobile home, two mobile homes on Lot B.
Lot B, or parcel B, does not go with the original granting of the site for the mobile homes. That was not part of the variance that was granted to allow those to go in there. The way I see it, parcel B is still in R1B that goes with Lot A on Copeland Street. So if you reduce the size of Lot A for whatever reason, you end up with a parcel B that you can't do anything with unless the board decides that they believe that parcel B is now part and parcel to the mobile home park.
Scott?
The mobile home park is a special permit granted by the planning board. So we would be going to the planning board, we think we would be going to the planning board for a modification to their original approval back 20 years ago for Skyview. So it's a special permit granted by the planning board.
But didn't we granted a variance to allow that to go in there because it's on commercial property many years ago. And the original granting did not include parcel B because that parcel B went with Lot A, which is up on Copeland Street. The way I'm looking at it, parcel B has nothing to do with the original granting of the variance for the mobile home park. What you're telling us tonight is you want to reduce Lot A to create Lot B and then put two houses on Lot B.
I think that's why Attorney Nazarella didn't want to include that in the presentation. Our hope is to put two additional retirement homes on parcel B, but that'll be pending special permit approval from the planning board.
I don't see how the planning board can give you a special permit if the zoning, if you have reduced the original lot of Lot A, Lot B, now that was all one, into two, and created a new lot. Do we have a deed or anything that has created all this stuff?
We have a plan from the planning board that created the division of Lot A and parcel B, a definitive subdivision plan.
But nothing's been deeded here.
Well,
Okay, so what I'm concerned about is, the way I look at it, is parcel B was part of Lot A. It's all one unit. You've now decided to separate it off. Parcel B does not change the zoning that it originally was, and that is residential. So if parcel B is determined by the board, whatever, that that is a residential zone, you can only have one dwelling on that lot.
If I may interject,
Go
so
ahead.
you're correct, Adam Coffin from Skyview. You're correct, when Skyview was originally created, there was a variance because it was in a C2 zone.
That's correct.
Yep. So the reason why we went through this and are here in front of you.
Please speak into the microphone. Just hold it in your hand and you can do it if you
Yeah,
want.
the reason why we're seeking this path, which we thought was the path of least resistance for this, is that an R1B zone, section 2725-3I, allows for mobile homes under a special permit, an R1B. That's in your zoning book. So it actually, Skyview originally needed the variance to change the zoning. We don't need to change the zoning. We are granted in the zoning bylaws to be able to apply for a special permit. So this parcel, believe it or not, is actually easier. This already is written in. Well, we're the only mobile home park in the city of Brockton, so this is the only time I don't think it's actually ever been applied for a special permit without the variance, which it was originally under the C2. But that's why we're just asking for the subdivision, because when you look at R1B, as I say, section 2725, which is the R1B zoning, which was submitted with this, with reference to it, that allows for the special permit. And it says, the last section says mobile homes. And then the mobile home zoning, which is what Skyview is, allows for those two homes. There has to be the setback, I believe, of the 20 homes, 20 feet between homes. So we are in conformance. We knew this going into it, that we needed to conform with all the setbacks for a mobile home park. That's how we derived at the two homes here.
Okay, I'm following your logic. So if this is R1B,
Correct?
so Lot A and Lot B are both R1Bs.
You got it.
That's what you're telling us.
You got it. Yep, they're all ready.
So you're asking us to reduce the square footage of the lot on Lot A.
Correct.
You're asking for variance to do that. And
Yep.
you described what your hardship was. Now comes this parcel B, which still is R1B,
Yep.
okay? Now you want to put two mobile homes on that one lot.
Because that's what Brockton allowed. Skyview Village is one parcel of land.
I understand that, but this parcel is not part of that. If this was purchased to be part of that, all I'm saying is the original granting of the variance was for the commercial side. Now you're saying you want to put two homes on that lot by virtue of special permit, special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's where you are tonight. So the front out area, Lot A, is a variance to reduce the size, and Lot B is a special permit to allow that to be used for mobile homes.
If I may, we're looking to reduce the size of Lot A, period. Lot B, the grant or allowance of two mobile homes would be by the permit granting authority, which is not the zoning board, it's the planning board.
Okay, and if you're going to use the stipulations that are out there relative to mobile homes, one of them is buffering and screening of 30 feet minimum. Are you familiar with that? I mean, we're talking 8 feet here. Along the perimeter of the development parcel for a depth of 30 feet minimum, landscape greenery or other buffering screening methods at place and time which can serve to obstruct. 2 parking places for each. Are you providing 2 parking spaces for each one of these dwellings? You are.
Yes.
The minimum frontage on any lot shall be not less than 60 feet per unit. However, clusters of no more than 4 units shall be allowed with a common driveway, provided the total frontage on a roadway is no less than 120 feet. Clusters of no more than 4. Total frontage, you need 120 feet, you've got 80 feet. Anyway, I just want to bring that out, that I'm looking at the density of this, to be honest with you, the 2 on that tiny lot, and I know what the change was. The two units were being serviced by a single driveway. You went to the planning board, moved the driveway, and the planning board allowed you to come back, and that's where we are tonight.
Correct,
And
correct.
virtually nothing else in this plan has changed other than that second driveway for the house that's nearest to the street.
We lost it. We eliminated a garage in order to do that. This house did have a garage before, eliminated that. We added a separate driveway. We actually shifted it all down to allow for actually more square footage to Lot A. And then we also made the proposed driveway, I think, well, it's 12 wide. And you had mentioned you wanted it wider for fire truck access, so it's 18 wide. You had also mentioned there was a shed on Lot A that was practically on the lot line, so we shifted it down so we wouldn't need a variance or have to move that as well. So there were numerous changes to do that, shifted a driveway over here. We tried to do everything that was requested of us.
Okay, I'm looking at plans that are dated 3/15/24. Is that the same plans we're looking at?
No.
With a Lot A of 18,500 square feet?
With a revision date,
Pardon me?
with a revision date, 3/15, with a revision date in the bottom right-hand corner.
I got a revision date of 5/2/24. No, general revisions, return to ZBA. I just want to make sure we're talking the same plans here. So,
That's the current.
so Lot A has 18,500 square feet?
Correct.
Yes.
So that didn't change from the last time you were here?
No, it had increased because this lot line was shifted lower. So I don't recall what it was before.
I think it was 17,000 in that
Yeah.
area.
It may have added 1,000 square feet to that.
So parcel B now has 10,500 square feet?
Correct.
That's what this plan shows. And the building in the back is 8 feet from the property line to the north.
Correct.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're playing with the same set of plans here. Okay, so tonight, you're not asking for anything on parcel B because you have, your determination is this is part of the mobile home park and you can put 2 dwellings on that lot by right.
Well, correct, but we're going back before, we'd be reappearing before the planning board for that.
But you need a special permit from us to put those mobile homes on that lot, don't you?
I don't think so. But you know what, I don't think we should have the argument as to whether I do or I don't. I would just rather ask you to have it, which doesn't still preclude me from reappearing before the zoning, before the planning board.
So we said earlier that under Chapter 27, there's a section in there that says in R1B zone, a mobile home is allowed.
Correct.
By special permit from the zoning board. So what I'm looking at here is parcel B is still in an R1B zone, and if we're going to put 2 dwellings on that as mobile homes, it's allowed, but with a special permit.
Then, with that in mind, I would proceed along those lines, which I appreciate, and I would state that for the special permitted use, all I would have to show, not all I would have to show, but what I would have to show is that the introduction of those 2 homes would not be any more detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood than would already exist in the surrounding neighborhood. That's the standard for the special permitted use.
And I think that's what the board needs to look at. If we're going to grant a special permit, is it more detrimental to the neighborhood? Because it still is R1B. Then you've got the issue of reducing Lot A, which is also in the R1 zone, and you have given us what you determined to be a hardship to allow that to happen.
Correct.
Okay, we're all on the same page.
Yes.
We did submit, we went around to all our residents and abutters and submitted, I hope it's in the paperwork,
Yes.
it was representative of over 30 homes. So we did address this with the entire neighborhood. our city councilor as well, and there was overwhelming support for the project. Our second time here, no one showed up in opposition before, and I'm hoping tonight as well.
Yeah, so all of the abutters, and the abutters to the abutters of the abutters have all assented to it and signed on to a petition which I filed with the application, as well as the assent that was previously submitted by the ward councilor, Ms. Nicastro.
And to my recollection, the problem was two houses being serviced by a single driveway.
And
That was an issue.
correct, that's why we went back to the drawing board, which was addressed.
Okay.
Are there two driveways now? Yes. The one on the right side of the first house and the one that services the back house is on the left, as I look at it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Separated out, and the only way
That's what it looked like.
An entire garage, which is beneficial for these people, but so that the garage was eliminated to fit the driveway here, and then this one became the sole driveway, but also you wanted it wider as well, so we made it wider for that too.
What's the square footage of these homes compared to the other ones in Skyview? Approximate.
They're about 1,400 square feet. They all range within like 100 square feet of that. Some are larger than that.
Okay.
These, one of these is 1,300, one's 1,400, but.
They're all within 100, 200 feet of one another? Okay.
Yes. And like I said, as you mentioned before, yes, they are referred to for the zoning book as mobile homes. They don't look like
I know what you're
mobile
saying.
home. Like what you're picturing in your head is not what these look like. They're very nice residential homes. They are more affordable, which is the idea of a cluster development like this. Yes, we don't have acre lots to be able to do this. That's how it's zoned for the density when we looked at this to make sure we were in conformance. But yes, it does. We wanted to be clear that it does say mobile homes. These are mobile, but it's not what you're thinking of from years ago.
It's not tin cup at his driving range?
It's not.
Okay.
And if you've seen Skyview, which was completed about 5-7 years ago, they're consistent with that. They've done even nicer, but it will fit in with all the other.
I think you have to understand my concern that, like, we're trying to jam two houses in that are smaller and don't even fit the neighborhood. That's the bigger concern. But if we're talking the same square footages,
Same square footages, we have a section that is exactly like this. We actually mirrored this, and there's more space. If you went through the whole property, this is consistent with setbacks from other neighboring properties, other homes within there. We, as the owners, we actually maintain all the grounds. So it's 55 and older, and we mow all the lawns, we plow all the driveways and everything. So the people, yes, this is sufficient size for a home, not bigger, if anything, it's right in the middle. And then as far as the lot space, these people want some space, but they don't want massive yards. They just want to be on their own.
You know,
I'm getting to that age myself.
just as a side note, Mr. Chairman and members, we talk about, Chief brought up a point about jamming other homes on a lot. Actually, it's rather consistent with the direction of the Massachusetts legislature now, where they passed the laws on ADUs, accessory dwelling units, which is basically that, allowing an accessory residence on a smaller lot that adjoins a house. This is not the same, but it's a parallel mentality that they're looking to increase development in an orderly fashion, and I think this is consistent with what that philosophy is.
I think,
Just on the ADU is determined by the square footage of the original house.
No, I understand. I said this
This
is
is
the similar, it's
different.
not exactly, but it's similar mindset of what we're trying to accomplish in
So
Massachusetts.
it's just like it, but different.
Correct.
and it's yet to be determined who knows how that ADU thing's going to work. I have great concerns about that as the fire chief, so that's a matter for another day, Attorney Nezarelli.
I'm hoping
I'd like
I
to
won't be
just-
here for that day, but okay.
I'd like to kind of wrap up the discussion on this, and I just want to make sure everybody understands, we are asking for a variance to allow you to reduce the size of Lot A, and you're asking for a special permit to allow two dwellings to be put on Lot B, and that is by right with permission from the zoning board. We all agree on that?
Agree. Two mobile homes, not to distinguish with dwellings.
Manufactured homes.
Correct.
Yep. All right. So one of the things that we can do as a board, if we are granting a special permit, is to put stipulations. What would you consider of stipulations on the north side of Lot B between that and the house at number 60, in the back, number 60? I mean, you're only 8 feet from the property line on one and 17 from the other. The regulations say you should have 30 feet setback of green space. If you had 30 feet of green space, this lot is totally useless.
Honestly, I'm not aware of that section. I know for the mobile home park, it depends which you're counting as what side or whatever, but I know between us and other neighboring properties, no one is 30 feet away from us consistently around the community as well.
Screen the boundaries with plantings.
Yeah, this is going to have a fence here. Yeah, there's a fence here already. There will be fences at the boundaries or, plantings.
All right, so I would just suggest then, I am concerned about the residents of number 60 with this house being in their backyard. And I know there's a pretty good distance between the two. However, the proposed house you want to build is only 8 feet from the property line. So it would make sense that either a stockade fence is put in there or a green arborvitae type thing that at least separates your property from number 60.
That's acceptable.
Sure.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Totally.
Okay, and I will just, my last comment is I went down and I drove through that whole project down there, and I was very impressed at how well it is kept. It really does look good down there, and I noticed that there are a number of these houses that are relatively close to each other compared to what we normally deal with here on the zoning board. So, to your compliment, that place is very well kept.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, board members, any other comments? Everybody's good? I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Close. I will now ask if there is anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given. And for the edification for the board, we should all have a list of neighbors that submitted a letter in support of all this. Everybody got that letter? Mm-hmm. Okay, I will close that portion of the hearing. Now I will open up for deliberations among the board members. Board members.
I don't find this to be a
Looking
detriment.
at a variance and a special permit.
Yeah, I don't find this to be a detriment to the neighborhood. I think it's a suiting addition and not too far-fetched for a request.
And the driveways, I think, are going to be important compared to what we saw last time.
Yeah.
The change of a plan since last time, I think it's substantial enough, in my opinion.
Make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and before we take a vote, I do have a letter from the Planning Board. 454 Copeland Street, the Planning Board granted a return to ZBA at the December 24th meeting. Okay, and the suggestion has been made that we take 2 separate votes, which I don't have a problem with. The first vote we will take is the reduction on size of the Lot A, a variance, and you heard the hardship that he proposed. So the first vote will be on Lot A to reduce the size. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Delanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
All right, the variance has been granted for Lot A. Second vote we will take will be the special permit to allow the dwellings on parcel B. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Delanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5-0 to allow a special permit for parcel B, and the vote is 5-0 to allow a variance on Lot A, with the stipulation that on parcel B, there will be either arborvitae green space type trees planted a reasonable distance or a stockade fence. We all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay, we're done. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Luck.
All right, the next petition is 2513, the petition of Patrick O'Brien, 74 Brewster Drive, Bridgewater, Mass., for a variance, seeking relief from Section 27.9 and 27.25 to construct 4 non-conforming lots in an R1C zone located 1003 Crescent Street. This is the case that has been before us on numerous occasions, and tonight is a new proposal that we have not seen before. Is that correct?
A newer and better one.
Okay.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, Attorney Philip Nasrallah again, with Mr. Pat O'Brien, the owner and developer of the property, together with Scott Farrier. When we were here last time on this application, there were some issues that were raised and concerns, and for the most part, there's some legitimate concerns, I think specifically from our fire chief about the roadway and access to and from the roadway, its width, and the turnaround space at the end of a 40-foot dead-end street. So we went back to the drawing board and made some substantial and significantly material changes, and we were, after presentation before the planning board, are now appearing before the zoning board. Those material changes are, as you may recall, we were looking for the variance on 5 lots, and they were just basically all conforming for area lot size. But in order to comply with the request that the board had, we have increased the width of the roadway, which we are going to rebuild, that will be 39 feet in width, completely asphalted. In addition to that, we intend on putting up vertical curbing from the beginning to the end, and together with also sidewalks, and the sidewalks will be erected on both sides of the street. Lastly, because of the concern on the turnaround at that dead-end street, we have extended the 40-foot street to 50 feet and have a cul-de-sac at the end, which would facilitate the movement of any type of vehicles, especially emergency vehicles. And the cost to improve this property and do the roadway work and put in the vertical curbing has exceeded several $100,000, and I submit that basically as the financial hardship, because we're taking what exists now as the land and making the improvements to a significant degree in order to make this plan work. And even with the plan, with the slight reduction of the lot size, they are still double what all the other lots are in that area, and the frontage has not changed from the first plan that we presented to the board. So with all of those changes, the significant changes in mind, we would ask the board to look upon this favorably and give approval for the development and construction of this much-needed development in that particular area.
What's the, just out of,
Board members.
yeah, what's the length of the road from Crescent in to the middle of the cul-de-sac, say?
Right above 5.
Oh, 500 feet. Water main wise, and I know this is my fire chief hat, is that dead ending or is that looping into something?
No, it's dead.
You know how much I hate dead end water mains, but I know that's not a component of this whole thing, but it's never anything, okay. And the actual road width will now be?
Yeah, so it's a 50-foot layout.
Yep.
34 feet of pavement, 6-inch vertical granite on both sides, and a 6-foot sidewalk as required in the subdivision regs, no waivers.
Yep.
We won't be requesting any waivers before the planning board.
Okay.
Previously, it was a 40-foot, it's an existing 40-foot roadway layout, what the street is. So that's why previously we had the 40-foot layout and 28 feet of pavement, Cape Cod sidewalks, but we've gone it out to the 50 and kept it according to the planning board regs.
And double sidewalks, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, both sides.
Utilities under?
According to the subdivision rules and regs, yes.
Okay.
I believe the smallest main they'll let them put in there is 8-inch.
Yeah. Still don't like dead ends.
While we're having that discussion, I did have a discussion with the water superintendent, the DPW commissioner, about the business, and you're up to speed on this, chief, about putting these hydrants on the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And he agreed with me that if you look at your plan, between Lot 4 and Lot 5, somewhere right there at that property line is where that should be. You should never put a hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac, because they bury it with snow every year.
Everything's going to collect. We'll open it up and we'll get sludge.
Okay,
We'd always,
so-
I mean, we don't like them, but if you can have it back a half a lot at least, it makes sense. Yeah, it just allows all the crap to end up at the end.
Understood.
Can you enlighten me again on the variance? I think the hardship, you mentioned the cost of the roadway, the cost of the...
That's correct.
construction.
As you know, a component or factor of a hardship is if there's a financial hardship. And the cost of the road, Pat, you had presented those numbers. They're over, in order to raise the road, develop it, increase the width, and add sidewalks that don't exist, I'm talking over $300,000.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But I will just tell you that when you come to zoning and you show us a plan such as this with granite edge stone and sidewalks, it is very disappointing when you go to planning and they relax that and allow for Cape Cod berm. What I'm voting on tonight is what's before me,
Correct.
and if it says vertical granite edge stone, that's what I expect to see when it's built. And you
Agreed.
agree with that?
Agreed.
Yeah, okay, good. I think this is a much better plan than the one you showed us the last time.
Yes.
All right, board members, any other questions? Everybody's good? So we've talked about relocating the hydrant, and that's about it. Everything else is good on the plans. Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I will now open it up for deliberation among the board members. Board members.
I think it looks good.
I think it looks good. We'll also see him again on planning if it passes, so I'll motion to grant.
Second?
With the stipulation that the hydrant be relocated,
Halfway through the
and I
cul-de-sac.
think they
Between,
understand.
yeah, with the hydrant being located between Lot 4 and Lot 5 on that sidewalk.
All right, so motion's been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's got to call himself, right?
All right, the next petition, 2514, has been postponed. That will be reheard next month. The next petition, 2515, the petition of Hyacinth Staton and Antoinette Martin, trustees, 75 Packard Street, Avon, Mass., for a special permit and variance, seeking relief from Section 27.9, Table 1, and Section 2724.5 to expand a non-conforming multifamily structure and for an exterior stairs in an R2 zone located at 398 Spring Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, with your permission, my name is Jim Burke.
I'm an attorney at law with offices at 48 North Pearl Street in Brockton. I'm here with Antoinette Martin, who's here, and Scott Farrier is going to assist. The applicant here owns the property on Spring Street that's at the corner of Spring and Boylston Street. In fact, it was constructed in the early part of the 1900s and is a pre-existing non-conforming structure. What she's seeking to do, she has a two-family home, and she's seeking to add a third unit onto that property. It's in an R2 zone, so the use is allowed. So the issue then is, when you expand the structure, it's a question of whether or not it's an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure. We run into this in Brockton because of the age of our housing, and it's somewhat confusing, but there can be a expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use and an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure, which is the issue here. And essentially, what we're doing is we're building out the property that's affecting side lot requirements and request a determination from the board whether it is structural change is more impactful on the existing neighborhood than the pre-existing and utilized structure. There is also a requirement or a request for special permit because of the somewhat new ordinance that requires you're exiting from a deck that's more than 3 feet high. In the alternative, because it is so confusing as it relates to pre-existing non-conforming structures, and I think the board has dealt with it, I've also requested in the alternative a request for variance. To the specifics, the Hierarchy architectural firm has provided very detailed renderings of what she intends to do. In fact, the first floor would in fact be the bedroom, and be some living area down in the basement area. It is laid out so that the ingress and egress meets code per the determination of Hierarchy, and the parking will, as outlined by Scott, will meet the standard of the ordinance by requiring 2 spaces per unit. And if there was a determination that the board wanted to reduce that to 1, it wouldn't bother us at all. In fact, it's a use that, quite frankly, in her experience, she has a occupant in there who does not have a car and hasn't for the last 10 or 15 years. So specifically what we're requesting relief is your approval, either by way of an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure or a variance, to allow her to expand the size of the structure to accommodate the use that's allowed under the ordinance as a 3-family. And also, as I said, a special permit to allow an ingress or egress from a deck that's in excess of 3 feet. So that's essentially, Scott, would you please run through the layout as it?
Sure. As far as the house construction, if you look at the site, if you visited the site, there's kind of an existing family home that looks like, looks a little different from the rest of the house. That's where this proposed third unit is going. So there's really not an increase in footprint. We're taking that existing, I'm going to call it a family room, and remodeling that and going up from there. So the footprint itself isn't changing. It's going to be built right on that location. Just to clarify, that was confusing to me, looking at the plans and figuring out what they were doing. So it's the footprint itself will not change. And as Attorney Burke said, we have 6 parking spaces across the front of the frontage on Boylston Street. We don't have, really don't have any other on the parking. There's an existing shed in the back and kind of a larger parking area, but in the past, the board hasn't looked favorably upon stacked parking. So knowing that, we really didn't have a choice except to lay out the 6 across the front on Boylston, as Attorney Burke said.
Is that all you guys got? So can you talk to me about the basement apartments?
The basement? It's just a living area, but it's not, it will not be an expansion of another unit. It's a living area that does not have a kitchen and family room.
Right, and you're right, that was confusing, because looking at the plan, but driving by there, I was like, I'm not sure what they're trying to do here. Can I just ask a question about the special permit for the covered stairwell?
Yes,
Where is that stairway you speak of?
it's right
Is
at the...
it that small one off the new addition?
Yes,
Yes.
that's it.
How many feet is it?
How many feet?
How many feet high is it?
It's right about 3 feet. The finished grades, but it's,
Because I couldn't see another one anywhere where you'd be talking about that, that's why.
yeah, it's
Okay.
right about 3 feet. If you look at it, it's, I believe right now there's a slider on that side of the house, a deck slider. That
And
would
what-
go out to a deck at some point, I would assume. So it's about 3 feet high.
And what you're looking for now with this special permit is to not put a covering over it? Is that what I understand? Because quite honestly, I would think it would look terrible, if you want my honest opinion, from what I saw. I think the crux and the intent of that ordinance is not what that is.
I think it's more for the second
Yes,
story.
yes.
Third story unit.
Yes.
Not so much the second and third lateral unit. So
I agree.
It's more for the higher unit,
'Cause-
just so you're not coming out on a snow-covered
Yes. I
three flights of stairs.
think that would look terrible, but okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
The roof line on this proposed second level, could you just describe what that would look like?
Actually, there is a, in the plans, I think that there is a, on the last page or so,
Okay, so it's not a flat,
no,
No,
no, it is
definitely
not.
okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, it's a pitched roof.
Okay, thank you.
So the issue with the stairway, as I understand it, in the new ordinance, a stairway that services a deck doesn't require a special permit. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm,
It's only if the stairway comes down from up above.
okay.
So we don't need to grant them a special permit for a stairway for that deck where it's only
All
a
right,
couple of steps.
excellent.
Thank God, because it'll look
Okay.
terrible.
I guess it's the attempt to be thorough.
This addition that was put on the back of the house, in the plans that were submitted, it doesn't even show that addition on the house. I'm looking at A000. A003.
Isn't the highlighted mark here?
I am just thoroughly confused.
A03 is the proposed build-up.
I don't think it's quite fair to us older gentlemen that are on this board that we get things that are submitted on an 8.5 by 11, when I have to take out a magnifying glass to read this stuff. Truly, it's not good. So this proposed basement, or the addition that was put on the house, I got the building permit here that was allowed to put that on. Are you building above that to the second floor?
Yes. Remodeling that and building above it.
Okay, so what we see right now is one story. You're going to add another story to that.
No,
Because on your plans, it says proposed construction in the same location as existing.
right.
Meaning the existing family room?
The existing footprint.
Footprint.
Right, exactly.
So that is one story right now, and it's proposed to be two stories.
No.
No, it's,
It's that in the
They just-
basement.
yeah, it's proposed one story plus the basement. So there won't be a second floor.
Yeah, that's what I asked
So
about the basements.
when I looked at that, what I see right now, the actual size of that addition will not get any bigger.
No.
Correct.
That addition right now is used as part of the occupancy of the first floor, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So now, the plan is to separate that.
On the second.
What's that?
The family members on the second floor is not occupying that.
Right, right.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct, to separate it from the first floor unit currently.
So this new occupancy in the already constructed addition, this is what's, it says proposed construction in the same location. It led me to believe that there's something else going on here that I'm not comfortable with. And you're telling us tonight that that addition that we saw when we went there will remain the same.
It's
Yes.
remodeling on the inside, correct?
So one access to that will be off of the original hallway to the original
Right.
two-story building,
And the second access is by the deck.
is on a deck that's going to be added onto the back.
Yes.
Where that sliding door is right now.
Correct.
Okay. Now I'm getting a feel for this. So the deck is 8 by 12. You're showing us the rear yard setback is 29 feet, when in fact it's only 21 feet
Oh, they're taking,
with the deck, right?
Okay,
Deck's
yes.
21 feet, right? And there was a request here several years ago to use the top floor as a third-floor apartment, and it was denied. So they wanted to make this into a three-family sometime before, I have it right here,
The attic.
and it was denied. So then, this addition was built. I had a question about the granting of the permit to build that addition, because now the square footage of the building oversteps the square footage of the lot. In other words, the building is too big for the lot. And that was granted, and the addition was built. So that's water all over the dam right now. But my point is, the square footage of the building in relation to the square footage of the lot. The lot is not unique in its shape. It's very similar to other lots in the area. And the other question that I have relative to the parking, you're showing 6 parking spaces on Boylston Street. So that whole side along Boylston Street, from the walkway going south, will all be a blacktop parking lot. What happens to the area with the shed? Was there any reason why that couldn't be made parking?
As I said, I mentioned it to Chief Nardelli, in the past, we haven't looked favorably upon stacked parking. So I could certainly stack the cars there, but we've had issues with that in the past.
Well, that's true. You're true. But I just think a driveway that wide for 6 cars, I mean, randomly just backing out into the street, it is very, very unusual.
If we could allow the stacked parking up against the shed, that would eliminate the first 2 spaces closest to the existing walkway.
And that was the preference at the time of the proposal, but whether we were right or wrong, we thought that may be problematic for the board, but we'd be more than happy to have 2 spaces there and only 4 spaces on the side.
can we change that, Mr. Chair, right now, as a stipulation?
It's up to you when we get into our discussion.
Okay, just out of curiosity.
So this was built to be a 2-family. At one point, they wanted to convert the attic into a 3rd apartment. It was denied. So then the alternative was to build this addition on the back, which was expanded living area for the first floor. And now the idea is to take the first floor and the basement of this new addition and make it a new 3rd apartment. I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I think it is, and that's right.
My question was, are we going to add anything in height to that current addition in the back? And you're telling us you're not.
No,
Not gonna-
we're not.
And I don't know if I ever put down here a hardship. What do you got for a hardship on this thing? What's unique about this?
Well, again, the hardship the structure's a structure. So since you're not changing the footprint and the use is allowed, the only hardship that I saw related to the expansion of the area where the deck was. I don't think you need a hardship. I think it is an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming structure. But in the alternative, I suggested a variance if that's how the board wanted to grant relief, but I don't think it's necessary.
So if this proposed construction was going to be happening now, there would be no question you'd need a variance.
I don't think it needs a variance.
The construction is already there.
Construction is already there and the use is allowed. But there is an expansion, I guess, of the deck area, which creates movement on the footprint.
Yeah, and I think it's just a little bit disingenuous to show us 29 feet of setback, when in fact, when you put the deck on there, we only got 21 feet. I look at all components of the building as it relates to the rear yard setback. And there was a question where the front of this building is, whether it's on Spring Street or on Boylston. In my mind, there's no question it has a street address of Spring Street. So the front of this building is Spring Street, and the rear yard is where the shed is. We all agree on that. Yeah, there was a question on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so the special permit we've decided is not needed for a couple of steps to go up onto a deck.
All right.
Mr. Building Inspector, we're correct on that, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Board members, any more questions? You good? I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official who wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that was given? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open it up to board members. Board members.
I guess Chief brought it up. The parking is something I'd want to address. If we could slightly rearrange that as a stipulation, I think it would make the traffic on the street a little bit safer. I don't know what you would suggest, Chief, but what were you thinking?
So I can't see the exact dimensions, but would there be enough, if we look at that, is there, if I may pose it back to the attorney and the engineer, would there be enough room to put two cars side by side if we remove the shed?
We wouldn't even need to remove the shed. There's enough depth behind what I have labeled as spaces 5 and 6.
Yep.
So we could take spaces 1 and 2, put them behind 5 and 6, and basically essentially stipulate that unit 2
That's their
would get
parking.
the stacked parking, and unit 3 would get stacked parking. So you're just gonna aggravate the person you're living with if they've got to move the car.
But I guess the thing, if we remove the shed, would it give us the ability to not stack and park side by side to back out? No, it wouldn't. Okay, so we might be able to stack it. I just like the idea of getting them off Boylston Street as we can. I don't like stack parking, but I think it would be better to see if we could get it there. So, all right, okay.
So it would be 4 across the road, and then 2
Yes.
behind the 2 behind the spaces furthest.
So 1 and 2 would be removed and put up there, which makes the corner easier, correct? Okay. I just look at that from emergency vehicle operations too, of making a big swing. Okay.
So let me just recap this. You're suggesting pushing 5 and 6 forward to the shed and then taking 1 and 2 and putting it behind? Okay.
Yes.
All right, we're
Or taking 1 and 2 and putting behind 5 and 6.
we are deliberating among ourselves.
I just had to ask a question because I couldn't see it. Sorry.
And,
Chief, maybe do it. Sorry.
yeah, I know it. In this conversation I just had with the building inspector, I guess there's a technicality here that, what is it, the conversion would only require 3 spaces.
That's correct. The conversion section under the zoning ordinances only require one space per unit when you're converting in an R2 or R3 zone.
So that reduces our number anyways.
Okay, so that kind of changes the complexion of things. I would think in our deliberations, if 1, 2, and 3 were removed, and 4, 5, and 6 remained, with 2 additional in front of 5 and 6, that would give them 5 parking places, required 3.
And I think that also brings the noise down on the street too.
Well, the way it's laid out, it's going to be very ugly,
Right.
very ugly. So the thought is, I want you to banter this around. If we did away with 1, 2, and 3 and allowed 4, 5, and 6, and the petitioner was willing to leave room in front of 5 and 6 for an additional car, that would almost satisfy everything that he wants. Yet all the law says is we got to have 3, but we know 3 is really minimal.
I think that's a reasonable request. And it gets stuff out of the way away from the
I
road.
think where we're at right now is we all understand that the addition that's there now is not going to change in size, height, dimensions, anything. They want to use the basement. If they're going to use the basement, it's got to come under the code based upon whatever the building inspector says. And the first floor will be separated from the current first floor by the back hallway that services the two families. So we're all good on that. Now comes the setback of the deck in the back. The plan shows a 29-foot setback when in fact there's only 21. However, one of the things that we could look at is amending the parking as it has been shown to something that would be better for the neighborhood.
I agree.
Me too.
I think that's a good idea.
All right, so if somebody was to make a motion,
All right, I'll motion to grant.
slow down. If somebody makes a motion to grant, I think we should stipulate the parking. So in your motion, I think that's got to be put in there. And the size of the construction that currently is there shall not change, the dimensions. I don't want to see a second floor go on this thing, because that's not what we're approving.
So, just again, Chief, so I have this. You want to relocate 1, 2, and 3?
That's my suggestion. I mean,
Okay,
we're
I think that's,
deliberating.
and I think that's reasonable
It's
to
very
me
reasonable.
and anybody else. And suggest that it's put, 2 other spots are pushed up towards the shed area.
So 4, 5, and 6 are mandatory.
Okay, with 2 other options, okay.
What the board is suggesting to the petitioner, it would make sense to put 2 spaces in front of 5 and 6, so that at least one tenant of one floor could park one behind the other because of the unique circumstance here.
Okay, so I'll motion to grant with the stipulation that parking spot 1 and 2, as it sits on that lot, be relocated to in front of 5 and 6, and that space where 1 and 2 came from remain as is and not paved,
And encourage 2 additional spots in front of 5 and 6.
and encourage 2 additional spots in front of 5 and 6.
A second.
Be aware that they wanted to put a dwelling in the attic. That was denied. We're not talking anything about that tonight. We're strictly dealing with this addition in the back. You good with
Nothing
that?
about the attic.
No, I know. You're good with the parking?
Yes, oh, we are, absolutely.
Chief, on the motion, can I amend it, because I think I only said 1 and 2.
Say that again?
Could I amend my motion to be, include spot 3? I think that's what we agreed on. I think I only mentioned 2. So to amend my motion, spots 1, 2, and 3 to be essentially withdrawn from the plan,
Make it green space.
make it green space, and to suggest that two other additional parking spots be in front of where 5 and 6 are.
And 4, 5, and 6 will be the mandatory ones.
Yes, and 4, 5, and 6 be mandatory. That's my motion.
And I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. With those stipulations, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
And Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted with the stipulations. Thank you.
Thank the board for its time.
Good luck.
All right, the next petition is 2516. The petition is CV Trade Incorporated, 46 should be North Montello Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance seeking relief from Section 2629 to allow to operate an office warehouse to conduct a shipping consumer goods operation in a C2 zone located at 46 North Montello Street.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Attorney Jim Burke. I represent the applicant, CB Trade, Inc., and with me is Scott Farrier, who prepared a plan. There's a history to this. I received a call, it actually goes back about a year ago. The building department had made a determination that the use was not allowed in a C2 zone, I'm aware of the confusion in the area because this board may remember I had a client that essentially did the same identical work that wound up moving down to Montello Street, South Montello Street, and had been doing it at an adjacent location for 18 years. So there is an industrial zone right in the same area. The question is whether or not the use is allowed in a C2 zone. We sure agree that under the current ordinance it does not. So the law department had requested that we go ahead and move for a variance to clear up the issue, and hopefully this board will find that it is an appropriate utilization of the property. It's a large warehouse, essentially what they do, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. They receive materials, they, receive it, ultimately send it to a destination point, which I believe is in Fall River, and it's sent to Cape Verde. They've been doing that for a number of years at this location. It's owned by Mr. Millette. The client, CB Trade, is a tenant in the property, and it is a congested, older area of the city in terms of utilization. It's an old building, and this is a somewhat storage use that I think is not that active in terms of daily traffic, and I guess the way to put it, as with the other client I had, they've been doing it for 18 years there, and it obviously isn't a problem with the neighborhood. It's a use that it comes from an older building that does not have a great utilization for many function other than storage. It has virtually no parking associated with the lot. The unique structure of the building could create a hardship that the board could determine would be appropriate to allow the use. It was constructed, again, in the early 19th century, and it does not meet current standards, and other than storage, I'm not sure what you do with it. So, again, the request was to move to hopefully get it approved to allow the existing use to continue. And Scott, if you want to run through with the plan.
Yeah, as Attorney Burke said, there's really not much to it. The main access is off of North Montello Street. Essentially no parking on the side of the building except for the paved area just to allow vehicles back and forth to the overhead doors for CV Trade to use. Everything else is staying exactly as is, so really not a lot going on with the plan.
So this has been in operation for 18 years, and we don't really hear a peep from these folks. I mean, at all. What kind of materials are they storing?
Oh,
from a
the
firefighting
consumer goods, like electronic goods, stuff that has scarcity in Cape Verde.
Gotcha.
Anything you want to buy and ship home to your family.
Got it. Okay. Well, I mean, we have a few businesses like that in the city. This is nothing out the ordinary. I'm just thinking of traffic on North Montello. We haven't seen any issues. Do any of the vehicles enter from Court Ave?
I'm sure they probably do. It's kind of a gravel.
Yeah, it's kind of beat up back there.
So I would assume they probably do. As I said, the main curb cut is off of North
Yeah.
Montello, but I'm guessing they probably do, just to get out of the way.
Okay.
So this is an operation that they fill, I think they call them bidoons, and they put them on freight ships?
Yeah, on ships.
Okay,
Out of New Bedford, I think, but
New Bedford?
New Bedford, Fall River, they're close, but it's New Bedford.
okay. So how many, what's the scale of the operation? I mean, it's obviously small, but how many? 2, 3
Individuals?
individuals? Sure.
I get, it's a family operation, and I believe there were 3 members of the family that I met with that were working it. I don't know that they have any part-time help. Essentially, there's nothing going on there on a regular basis.
They wait until it fills up, and then you ship it out to Fall River.
It leaves out of Fall River, just curious, is that?
I believe so.
Okay.
New Bedford.
New Bedford, okay.
What's going on the boat, it's not going up the Weewagantic, we know that, so, I mean, the ass, but
Other restaurants in New Bedford.
Salisbury.
Scott would know.
What was the previous use before this? What were they doing before that?
I
Just
have no idea, to be honest with
Mattress
you.
factory,
mattress?
mattress factory.
Has the lot changed at all? In recent years?
I'm sure you looked at it prior to tonight, and it's not changed at all.
Yeah.
Just sits, there's not a lot going on.
And it's not one that looks like is anticipating significant investment in the future from Mr. Millet.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All set?
Yeah.
I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Anyone want to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing.
Mr. Chair, could I just address the?
Yes, you may.
Yeah. So this is a building where it's in a dark area. Would they be willing to put, if there's an entryway in the front door, so I think there's like a small entryway. Would they be willing to put 2 front lights, two front sconces to kind of brighten the street up if this was to pass?
If the board were intending to make that a condition of the variance, I'm sure Mr. Millet will put the lights up.
I think it's a reasonable request, and it might add a little bit of safety and security and also look better, so, if it was to pass. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. I'll now open up for board members.
My personal opinion is you could drive by this building 100 times in a year and never know it existed. I mean, quite honestly. I've been there for a couple of calls over the years with a couple of sprinkler issues, but George took care of them right away. There was no issues afterwards. It's pretty, I think my big thing is something changing about what the operation is, was my bigger concern from wearing my fire chief's hat, but it doesn't seem to be. I'm just trying to align with what it should have been way back. I have nothing else other than that.
I'll motion to grant with the stipulation of the lighting stipulation. Sorry, Mr. Yeah.
Go ahead, make your stipulation. I'm going
With a stipulation that 2 sconces be placed at the front entrance on either side of the front entryway.
All right, on the motion. I've been up there numerous times looking this situation over. In my estimation, this does not belong in that location. I would describe this place as a dump. There are boats that have been parked next to that building for months. They are now putting various cars in behind a fence in the rear of the building. They've got containers up against the back of the building. I have a letter here from the Fire Prevention Bureau on February 5th, 2021. You are hereby ordered to cease and desist storing vehicles in the building. When I was there the other day, guess what I saw in the building? Vehicles. I don't know who runs this place, but honestly, for the attorney that's standing before us tonight, I will tell you that a similar operation at Lawrence and Montello Street is probably one of the nicest operations that we got in the city. It's clean, there's never anything in the yard, we never have any problems. I cannot equate that to what I'm looking at here on North Montello Street. This building was never designed to do what it's doing. Its prior life, at least everything that was going on was inside the building. Right now, if you go up there, there are cars in the yard, there are boats in the yard, there is debris in the yard. Now, this board, several months ago, granted a variance to put high-end apartments at the corner of North Main and Charles Street. We also allowed apartments to go in on North Main Street directly opposite where this operation is taking place. I think it's a disgrace that this type of operation goes on where it is going on, where the city is trying desperately to redevelop that area and make it an area where people want to live. There are proposals for additional apartment units directly opposite this on North Montello Street. That whole area is transforming down there. I will just say, as one member of this board, this operation does not belong in this location. And the reason I'm saying that is if they ran this operation like the one we see further down on Montello Street, it might make sense. But these people have no concern for the neighbors. They're doing nilly-willy whatever they want to do. And here we are with a letter from the Fire Prevention Bureau in 2021, 4 years ago, telling them they can't do what they're continuing to do today. These people just don't care. So I just want to make it known that as this individual, I don't think this is the proper place to put this, and I am very disappointed at how bad this looks in that neighborhood up there.
Mr. Chair, where did you see the vehicles? Because it was all closed up when I went by. They were in the building? How did you saw vehicles in the building driving by?
Yeah, doors are open, I can look right in the building.
Which side? Court Ave or?
I came up Court Avenue, made the turn in the dirt.
I think everything was
North door, You
closed.
can look right in. And those boats have been there forever.
Yeah. Is that property, though? Or is that the
Shows it
property
on here,
next
they're
door?
backed up to the building.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing across the dirt parking lot is an enclosed chain link fence that's loaded with cars, which I don't know, but it appears to me that that's all part of this operation. They're telling us that they can't let the cars go till they get the VIN number squared away or whatever. This operation does not belong, in my opinion, in that neighborhood. So,
Chief, if I may add, if it's okay, I do know you got the 2021 letter. I talked at length with now retired Deputy Chief Williams, and this place became sprinkled to resolve those issues that related to anything in the building, which was the principal reason that there was a problem. Secondly, the vehicles that you're seeing are also being transported to Cape Verde. They also transport vehicles. That's one of the things, and they're waiting to go. So that's what the storage is. They're not abandoned vehicles that are left there. I'm not sure that by denying the request, you're improving the area in terms of making it better. I understand the concept, and it may well be that there is some cleaning up that the applicant needs to do, although I recall in discussions with him, some of the boats weren't his, they were abutting property that were being stored. It's difficult, but
all right, I'm going to cut that short because we are deliberating here right now, so.
Okay, then I just don't think we're helping the city by denying the application. At least we can control it properly rather than get into, litigation on use. I don't love the, I don't love the use myself, but it's there, and it's been there.
I think my concern is the vehicles that if they have fluids in them and things like that still, if they're sitting inside this building. I was unaware of that.
I didn't know about the car issue either. And come to think of it, I have seen a boat. It's right near the gas station. I have seen a boat there from time to time.
All right, the chair would entertain a motion.
I would like to amend my motion if I could. So I'll motion to approve with the lighting stipulation on both sides of the front, but also if we could stipulate that none of the operation is to be on the outside of the building. Can we stipulate that also?
I don't know. I guess you could do that, and if somebody wants to challenge it, they can, I guess. But I mean...
The lot is too small to be operating on the exterior of the building.
So do you want to further define that there shall be no storage on the outside of the building?
No storage and at all for any period of time.
So no outdoor storage.
On the exterior of the building, yeah, anywhere on the lot, I suppose, outside of a personal vehicle that's being used by an employee.
Well, I just hope everybody went and looked at it because it's more than what is shown here. All right, do we have a motion?
I'll second.
The motion is to grant?
Mr. Sweeney made the motion, I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lightness.
No.
Chief Nadelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative.
Vote is 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. The petition is denied. All right, the next petition, 2517, is 838 Belmont Street, which was withdrawn. Next petition is 2518. The petition of Victor Rosario, Smiling Builders LLC, 3 Smiling Drive, East Bridgewater, for a variance seeking relief from Article 3, Section 2710, to allow for a multifamily residential property in a C2 zone located at 491 North Montello Street.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Attorney Chris Vail on behalf of petitioner Victor Rosario. This is a petition to the board seeking a variance under Article 3, Section 2710 to renovate an existing home to create a 2-family residential home in a commercial 2 zone. Mr. Rosario purchased 491 North Montello Street back in December of 2024, which contains 8,500 square feet of land that abuts the railroad tracks to the rear. Currently, the residential home is outdated in the neighborhood and could use major renovation to make it look more aesthetically pleasing in that neighborhood. 491 North Montello Street is in a C2 zone where the property abuts several residential properties. However, it does not border a residential zone, thus there are no setback areas or frontage requirements. When purchasing the property, Mr. Rosario observed that the structure was most likely being used as an illegal 2-family residential property due to the separate egresses into the first and second floors, as well as both floors having their own kitchens, bathrooms, and living rooms. Mr. Rosario is now here to the board asking for permission to make this a legal 2-family residential property where he will keep the same layout as the existing building, but will renovate it to make it more aesthetically fitting, as well as comply with the city's fire and safety regulations. Mr. Rosario's proposed residential structure will contain a first-floor unit which would contain 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a second-floor attic unit containing 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. As stated earlier, these rooms are already pre-existing from the previous owner. Mr. Rosario's plans will also include a more practical, sustainable layout for a 2-family. As shown on the plan submitted, he will have a wide enough driveway with proposed practical parking for 4 spots with a proposed turnaround for all cars to be able to come and go as they please. The existing shed and garages on the property will then be removed for the property to contain ample amount of green space surrounding the structure, and at the back contain around 4,150 square feet of green space. In regards to the hardship in the present case, the hardship is the fact that the residential lot does exist in a commercial zone where there is an abundance of residential properties in the neighborhood. Having commercial use here would be detrimental to the neighborhood. The property is also old, run down, and at one point was being used as an illegal 2-family. Mr. Rosario now owns this building where the layout is an illegal 2-family, but he wants to make this correct with the city and turn it around. And he would make it aesthetically pleasing with a practical parking scheme that will be beneficial to not only his abutters as well as the city. So based on these, we are asking you to grant the variance to Mr. Rosario.
So Attorney Vail, real quick, this will be strictly a 2-family. The 3rd floor will be used for all storage. There'll be no plumbing, no heating, nothing up there other than, there'll be no living space on the 3rd floor.
The 3rd floor would have 2 bedrooms and a bathroom.
It looks, does that say that? It says storage.
No, I think that's the existing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I apologize. Yep.
And I went up there and those bedrooms
Yep, I see.
are already there constructed.
But no, so the 3rd floor would go with the 2nd floor, though?
Correct.
Okay, so all the cooking, all of that would be done on the second floor?
Second floor.
Okay,
And then that 3rd floor is just basically a staircase that goes up
the bathroom.
with a bathroom
Oh,
and the bedroom.
I'm sorry, okay.
So you said there's already an existing bathroom on the 3rd floor, or they're going to be creating a bathroom?
They're going to be creating a bathroom. There is a space that it looked like there probably was there at one point, but
Okay.
it's completely destroyed up there.
The house is in great disrepair right now.
It
Are
is.
there folks currently living there? It didn't
No.
look it when I went by it. It looked
it's-
like it was empty. There were windows even open in it.
It's completely vacant. When he bought it vacant, and that's why he wants to fix it up and make it a multifamily, make it nice for the neighborhood.
And when you say multi, you're saying 2-family?
2-family,
Got it.
yes.
I think it's important that your client understand that what the chief is saying is, when you say 2 families on 3 floors, whoever lives on floor 2 has access to floor 3.
Correct.
Cannot create another apartment on that top floor.
It wouldn't even make sense to be able to do it with the layout. The entrance goes in through the kitchen on that 2nd floor. So if somebody were to try to make a 3rd apartment, they'd have to go through somebody else's unit. So he does not want to make it a 3-family. It's strictly a 2-family.
Very good. Board members, you all set? Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I will now open it up for public discussion. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official in the room that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I will ask, is there anyone in the room that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That completes the public discussion. I will now open it up for discussion among the board members. Board members.
Geez, I think it's great to see someone that wants to renovate that house, because it's an absolute eyesore at this point, and I have no problem with that request.
You know, it's kind of unique. That's another section where it's all zone commercial, but it's all residential.
They're row houses, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Over the years, it's been all, and this lot would never be of any value for C2. It just wouldn't.
And I think the parking is pretty well laid out. So getting off that busy street and being able to turn around, I don't see any flaws with that.
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Can we put a stipulation that it remains a 2-family?
Yes, and the 2nd floor only used in conjunction with, second and third floor used in conjunction with each other. Yeah. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. With that stipulation, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Thank you, everyone.
5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Good luck.
Thank you.
That concludes our business for this evening.
To adjourn?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. Our meeting is adjourned.